Whether you're a first-year teacher or not, we all get pumped up that first year that we start teaching. We're all excited and we can't wait to get to our classroom. And so we become the victim of what I call overenthusiasm, optimism, and unfortunately, we become the victim of a couple of lies that we're told as new teachers that we have no business believing, and that I'm going to give you the real low on today. Hi, I'm LaWanda Shields from 2 Cute Classrooms. If you're new here, this is my space with my fellow teachers, homeschool moms, and or homeschool dads. And today we're talking about lies that new teachers are told that they shouldn't believe. So let's get right into this video. One of the first lies that we're told as educators when we first begin to teach is that you shouldn't be concerned about the money. Well, that's great if you're a millionaire or you don't need the money, you're just working for fun. But if you're not, if you're a person that needs to pay their bills, then you should be concerned about the money. You need to ask those school districts how much they pay, how often they pay, and what are the chances of you getting raises. You need to know how much you're making. And let me go ahead and tell you now, you're going to end up spending a good bit of your own personal cash on your classroom. Of course, there are ways around it, but new teachers, most of us end up spending, even old teachers too, of our money. Let's be honest, the money just is simply not there, or the state will not fund them. And if you're like me, if you really want something for your classroom, you're going to go get it. You're going to go get it. Whether they pay for it or not, if you want it for your room, if you want it for your kids, chances are pretty darn good that you're going to go purchase that item. We've all heard it. You've heard it too. That for really good teachers, you're a born teacher and this is easy for you. That is a lie. It's not true. Teaching when you first start it's a learning curve, just like YouTube. There is a learning curve. You may be a natural born teacher, but you may not know all of the programs and systems that you need to use or some strategies that you need to implement. So don't let anyone make you feel bad because you just started teaching and it's not coming easy to you and you feel like this was your calling. It probably is. If you talk to any veteran teacher, they'll tell you the same thing. If they're being honest, this is not something that just comes in an instant. You may get the hang of it quickly, but it takes time, just like anything else. I'll never forget when I first started teaching, I didn't feel comfortable teaching for about the first 3 years. And totally unrelated topic, but as a nurse, I'm also a nurse. When I first started nursing, when I was getting out of nursing school, I said, how long before I will feel comfortable as a nurse, being on my own, doing what I need to do? And they said about 5 years. And I said, they've got to be kidding. Guess what? They weren't kidding. It was 5 good years, and teaching is almost the same. I mastered it in 3, but for most people, you won't feel comfortable getting to your groove for the first 3 to 5 years. Try it. We'll support you. We're here for you. This is another story that new teachers are told when they are either hired for one position and switch to another one, or they are forced to fill a position that they really are not qualified for. The admins will hire these new teachers and tell them, go ahead, try it. We're going to be here to support you. Nobody's expecting a miracle, and most of the time, this is just not true. You get stuck with a position that you're not comfortable with, that you have little to no knowledge about. You get little to no support. I'm not saying admins intentionally do this, because I think in the beginning that they are really well-meaning. They do mean to support you. They do mean to help you out. But chances are good they're going to get too busy to do it. And then when a lot of times you get thrown under the bus, they don't care if it's your first year teaching it. They don't care if you're out of your subject area. All they want are results. So be sure that as a new teacher that you check, double check to make sure that you're not in an area or you're not getting put somewhere where you really don't know anything. Make sure you're really going to get that support, because this is one of those stories that new teachers are told. One of my favorite fallacies that new teachers are told is that this is a work of heart. That because you love teaching and you love kids, everything is going to be okay. It's going to be rainbows and unicorns, and every day is going to be a happy day. And golly, that's not the truth. That is further from the truth than anything I've ever heard. Yes, teaching may be a work of art, but teaching is a business. Please understand that teaching is a business, just like any other business. There will be mandates handed down by the state. There will be mandates handed down by the federal government. There will be instructions handed down by your district. You will not get to do everything you want to do. It's not, as I said, rainbows and unicorns. Some days are going to be very, very bad days. You're going to question yourself. You're going to say, is this the right career for me? Did I make a mistake? There are going to be days when you go to work and you hate your coworkers because they're getting on your nerves. You're going to hate your students someday. That's just how it goes. Because, as I said, teaching is a business like any other business. And even though we don't want to teach it that way, well, look at it that way. It is. Teaching is a business. And we have to treat it like a business. Able to spend so much more time with your family in this profession than in any other profession that there is. This is an absolute non-truth. Teaching requires a lot of time. It's going to eat into your family time if you're not careful. It will eat into your holidays, your weekends, unless you make sure you set clear boundaries from the beginning and you stick to your guns. Yes, you get your summers off right now. Yes, you get your weekends. You get your holidays. But a lot of teachers make the mistake of spending those weekends and holidays and summer vacation planning things for kids or catching up on work that they've gotten behind on. There's a lot of paperwork to teach, and don't let anyone fool you. This is not something that you do and you just go home. So many times it will go home with you. For me, I spent years lugging paperwork home. I had piles of paperwork in my living room. I had piles of paperwork in my bedroom until I finally put my foot down and said no. Also, I was getting phone calls after hours from parents, from administrators. You have to say no. I have gotten calls during the summer about stuff that they were looking for, or can you please come in? Hey, you are entitled to a life away from work, away from school. And if you have not watched my video yet on how you can start working non-contracted hours, please take a moment and go do that. But please know, as a new teacher, that you are, yes, you're getting those weekends and holidays, but chances are good that you are not going to get to spend all that free time with your family and friends unless you really strategically plan things out. No teacher wants to admit that he or she is guilty of this, and I will admit that I have worked very hard to avoid it, and sometimes it's hard, but you cannot have favorites. And the lie that a lot of new teachers tell themselves is that I'm going to like all of my students the same. I'm going to treat all of my students the same. And a lot of times it's just not true. You have to force yourself to do this. So to ensure that you don't have a favorite, make sure that you're consistent. Make sure that the same rules apply for all of your students. Make sure you're using rubrics when you're grading their work. This way you can ensure that you do treat all of your students the same. Because as I've said in another video, your students will know when you have a favorite. They know who your favorite is. Even when you don't know, they know. This has been Miss Shields with 2 Cute Classrooms, talking to you about the untruths they tell new teachers about teaching. I'll see you guys in the next video.